Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum and greetings. Positive Impact would like to welcome you all today. Our session today is dedicated to an industry that worked like foot soldiers through COVID-19. They responded to COVID-19 with a positive spirit and switched from crisis mode to a situation and responded tactfully yet safely. We are dedicating our few sessions to this industry. The reason behind that is because Positive Impact has been carrying a flag for developing this industry and serving this industry by giving a lot of technical training, advice, and programs to them. So, with that in mind, and also with another thing in mind, that this particular industry is unique in its own way, because when everything else was closed, they kept their stance and keep going. So it will be interesting to know how this industry kept on going and having their functions up and running despite the lockdowns, despite the fears of COVID-19 spread among the workers, and so on. So our first session of this industry will underpin how Drap has evolved during this time as a regulator and responded to the tenacious risks posed to the industry with border closures, ban on exports, and many other challenges of disruptive supply chains, tremendous increase in demand, and obviously safe running of this industry. So DRAP has always played a very important role when it comes to helping with decreasing the mortality and morbidity rate in a population. They are seen as a collaborator in healthcare industry to decrease the bad effect on people's health and improve the health of everyone. They have a very crucial role to play, which is providing medicine to everyone as a basic human right. So the COVID spread obviously has increased the demand tremendously because there were more people likely to fall sick and have mortalities and morbidities related to COVID-19. So today we have Dr. Saif Rehman with us. So welcome, Dr. Saab. He is serving as a director for Central Laboratory Drap Karachi. He has served to the discipline for more than about 2 decades, serving for GLP inspections, drug licensing inspections, and writing several regulatory guidelines. Very interesting for having him on board today with us is not only because of his expertise in pharmaceuticals, but he's also well versed with public health arena. So having him here today will be an opportunity to explore not only the operational challenges, but see how we will be shaping the safer industries for future. So Dr. Khatak, Assalamu alaikum and welcome. Um, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Currently, I'm working as Director, Central Drugs Laboratory, Karachi. Central Drugs Laboratory is the main federal government laboratory carrying out testing of especially allopathic drugs, medical devices now, and we are moving towards some other specialized areas. So this is the laboratory which was basically established in 1948, and
Yeah.
till today is working, in order to implement the rules and regulations, especially the surveillance activities of quality drugs in Pakistan.
Yep. Okay, thank you very much. So we all know that DRAP has a very important role to play when it comes to the pharmaceutical and drug regulations. I would like to know that with the surge in demand, obviously there have been a big pressure on the companies. They had to continue productivity, whether on full capacity or partial capacity, but making sure that the demand of the medicines are met. So I would like to know, as my first question, what measures were followed for plant safety? Because I'm sure there are lessons to learn from this industry. And I would like to know that what was the role of Drap to ensure the safety of the frontline workers, not only working in pharmaceutical industry, but also working as a frontline staff in community pharmacies, the hospital pharmacies, etc. Thank you.
Okay, I think I should give you the response to your all three questions because I have prepared, a short type of, document, and that document will cover, all the aspects what DRIP has done, in the COVID-19, what was the role basically before, and what is basically during the COVID-19, and what we are expecting, after the COVID-19.
Yep.
So I think that will be sufficient to resolve all the questions. So let me start. If you uh,
Yeah.
so I'm starting you from Assalamu alaikum and warahmatullahi wabarakatuh from my side, and I hope you all are doing well. And I feel immense pleasure to be here with you to discuss the role of DRAPE, especially supporting the pharma industry during COVID-19. I especially appreciate the effort of your effort, Jamshed and Tanvir Bhai, for bringing we people together to on the forum of positive impact to discuss, very important areas of today to discussion with one another. So briefly, I will discuss, about the situation, but let me, divide my discussion in two parts. The first part of my discussion is basically some brief about the history of medicine and devices regulation in Pakistan.
Okay.
And the second part, then we'll be discussing, the role of rape in COVID-19.
Yeah.
Uh, so going to the first part, basically before May 2010, medicine were overseen by Ministry of Health in Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that was the allopathic drug that was covered, by the Ministry of Health. In May 2010 to November 2012, Drug Regulatory Agency was constituted through an ordinance, Drug Regulatory Agency Ordinance 2010. And then November 2014 till date, we have the Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan constituted under Drap Act 2012. Drap Act covers pharmaceuticals, biologicals, alternative medicines, health and OTC products, medical devices, and medicated cosmetics. Means now they are in the ambit of Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan. So this is a short story about the regulation, how the regulation were enacted, under Ministry of Health, and then under the Drug Regulatory Agency of Pakistan, and finally under the DRAP, that is the Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan, which is still today.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the role of DRAP, in COVID-19, I will go just, just to highlight some of the areas which we were considering, before any pre-COVID-19.
Yeah.
So some of the very important areas, like we were in the process, we were considering the allopathic, all the new chemical entities to be, listed or registered in Pakistan through CTD or ECTD format. And then another big area, which was basically the policy of no vitamins registration in Pakistan, that is the pre-COVID-19 situation.
Yeah.
And then lengthy procedure were for the H and OTC products enlistment, because now we are enlisting the health and OTC products, which contain the alternative medicine, also the medicated shampoos, the medicated cosmetics as well. So we were doing that. So there were a lengthy procedure for their enlistment. LNT procedure were also for the enlistment or the registration of medical devices, because in Pakistan we are enlisting, the type 1 medical devices,
Yeah.
and type 2, 3, 4 we are basically registering them. And there were very few approvals for clinical trials, especially for treatment clinical trials. So these are the some very important areas which were covered by the along with a lot of tasks by the DRAP pre-COVID-19.
Yeah.
Now I'm coming towards the special area, what has been done by the Drap, during the COVID-19. So before going to activities of Drap during COVID-19, it is important to highlight some factors that affected pharma industry during COVID-19, and then we will be relating, what Drap has done for that. So irrespective of keeping the industry open by the government for maximum operations during the lockdown period, the industry still has been affected by a number of factors. We know that there is increased material cost. We know that there is increased contract services cost as well, difficulty in personnel movement and communication, increased health and hygiene cost of personnel, and decreased exports.
Yeah.
Beside all these factors, which is has hampered, uh, the situation of and the business of pharma industry in Pakistan, the what Drap has done.
Yeah.
Now, to discuss what Drap has done and still doing, because the situation is still over here, let me inform that Drap is actively performing activities like other national medicine agencies are doing in the globe. And that are basically the surveillance activities, prevention and control activities, emergency preparedness activities, and finally, business facilitation activities, keeping, Drap in the ambit of the regulations. Some of the activities by different directorates, you know that there are 13 directorates of Drap and they hold different functions. So we will be discussing, some of the activities of these different directorates. Let me consider the first directorate, that is the Directorate for Pharmaceutical Evaluation and Registration, a bit directorate, with a lot of tasks. So during COVID-19, a quick review in online meeting for registration of essential drugs, including antivirals and vitamins like vitamin C, etc., has been started. So this is, a work that has been started during the COVID-19, and a quick review process has been started, especially antiviral drugs, which are very important, and vitamin, which were not considered before that because there were a lot of manufacturers and there were some issues regarding the OTC and the allopathic drugs as far as the vitamins were concerned.
Yeah.
So now this process has been expedited, and specific, online meetings are, established for that, and we do have a lot of good, sources in this area. And then the relaxation in NCDD without affecting the quality of submission, that is being also started. That there was a CTD format, but we are now we going to relax it, and like approval on 3 months stability data with a slight modification in changing, the landscape of the regulations to facilitate the manufacturer as well as to bring, the ease to the business during this issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then the medical device division, some of the work by medical device division, the repeat enlistment of manufacturers, products, particularly the sanitizer and PPEs throughout the world, there's
Yeah.
an issue. So a lot of manufacturers were basically enlisted during the process and is still under the process of licensing. Basically, a lot of manufacturer very rapidly, with the just by relaxing a lot of the regulatory options over there.
Yeah.
Then a quick inspection program for the manufacturers. This was done, and a provision of special permission to hospital and national control programs this area,
Yeah.
and also to just to grab the regulation as well. Then another very important area you can see, that is the area of licensing division in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Licensing of chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, vitamin C, and azithromycin. This was done on emergency basis. The manufacturer in Pakistan, which are the manufacturer of semi-basic manufacturing, they were prepared for that. So under the National Preparedness Program, so they were facilitated. And the facilitation of API manufacturers for import of basic chemicals, there is a lot of issue, today, because the basic raw material or the basic chemicals are not available. So government to government contacts were made in order to facilitate the manufacturers of the API basically in Pakistan. Then another very important directorate which is known as quality assurance and lab testing. Exhausts to post-marketing quality service for chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, cough syrups, and ceftriaxone, sodium injection, and some other very vital drugs were taken. And still, it is under process. In my laboratory, especially, is working, on all these post-marketing quality surveillance areas.
Yeah.
Strengthening testing facilities on medical devices, especially PPAs in public and private sectors. So, Alhamdulillah, my laboratory has got the chance again, just to start the testing as well for all these PPEs and some important medical devices. Then the QA and lab testing division also expected, although that there is a decrease in the export, but some special exports on humanitarian grounds to some very good countries, were made for chloroquine, azithromycin, and hydroxychloroquine. And then rapid clearance of imported consignments, Drap, provincial offices, special task, even on the holidays, the offices were open, in order to clear the import consignments of the manufacturers. The last area which is very important in which we are working with the world, that there are more than 800 clinical trials started, on this issue. And Pakistan is actively participating in that. So Alhamdulillah, continuous update on pharmacovigilance activity that is being started by our pharmacy services division. Approval of multi-center, multi-drugs clinical trial with the Howard University. That is a treatment trial that is being started. It's a multi-center center with Karachi, Rawalpindi, Peshawar, and Lahore. Different hospitals are involved in it.
Yeah.
Approval of clinical trial on convalescent plasma of COVID-19 patients. That is also a multi-center study. A lot of universities are involved in it. Approval of clinical trial COVID-19 testing kits, diagnostic trial. These are the first trials which were given permission, in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And then the clinical trial on ventilators. This is another clinical trial, supportive trial, supportive trial on medical device trial that was started, and it is now in operation. And the another very important trial that is going to be, just warranted with the collaboration of the China. That is the clinical trial on vaccine. It is within the process, and I think it will be put, in the proper clinical trial will be made. And finally, the clinical trial on remdesivir, that is also under process to be considered. So I can see, this area which was not very much functional, I would say, because the infancy of drug regulatory authority Pakistan. Now, during the COVID-19, it has done tremendously and work in these areas and work very efficiently. Now, finally, my final summation will be regarding the post-COVID-19. These are basically expectation, I will say. The expectation, yes. We expect that there will be some very good condition and very good activities to be brought, and there will be good facilitation to the manufacturer. Some of the activities which I can mention over here: the export facilitation through export facilitation desks and increase export promotion expos. That is being decided because the manufacturers, the business has been affected, and we will be working, on an emergency basis, just to have these two things. Very important: export facilitation desk and increase export promotion expos. That will be, inshallah, we will be going for that. Then very important that we were in the process of PICS member and WLA recognized agency. We were in the process, and inshallah, I do hope that we will be just getting it, the membership, we will be getting it just after the COVID-19 issue. So this will also boost, the pharmaceutical exports in the world, basically, and we will be helping, our national manufacturer to export their products, to the world. And then being members of the PEX, as I said, and declared as WLA, will work for the uplifting of industry and infrastructure and practices, and also in the human resource perspective.
Yeah.
That will again, one of the big area and big practice, I can say, big service, to the industry for the future, that will be uplifting not only their resources, but uplifting their business as well. And at the last, more collaborative clinical studies has good contribution for science and industry will be made, in future. And the Drap will be continuing, their processes and their practices, their activities, and they are with the full motivation. And I do hope that in the future, we will be giving very good results and a very good facilitation to our industry and to our public at large. So this, thank you very much. If you have any question, now I can answer, any question if you
Yeah,
have.
sure. So very insightful and a very comprehensive description of the three key areas that I wanted to discuss with you has been answered by yourself. So I can see from your answers that the landscape of the whole of pharmaceutical industry has been changing. It was in a process of evolution, but it looks like the landscape is now changed. There is a very clear roadmap of the future of this industry. So my question is that with the current challenges that pharmaceutical industry is facing, one of the key one is the raw material, because Pakistan industry is still very much reliant on the raw material coming from elsewhere. So
Yeah.
with all these problems of border closures, export bans, because lots of countries who were manufacturing raw material want to have the raw material first for their own country before it's exported. So that
Yeah.
is another problem, the availability of the raw material. So obviously that has resulted in disruptive supply chains. And obviously if there is no raw material, the production will be halted or compromised. So my question is that with this sort of a situation, how Drap can play their role to support the industry? Are we looking into the future of the pharmaceutical industry when we are going to be able to make our own raw material? So what will be the roadmap to overcome this crisis situation? Because this is going to be an ongoing challenge.
Yeah, two-pronged strategy, definitely, for the whole world basically. And Drape is doing so. As I mentioned, we are relying mostly on the, on the API produced by a manufacturer abroad. But definitely, we are encouraging our local manufacturers, as I said, So we are extraordinarily helping with them by arranging, the basic chemical material for them, by arranging, the methodology for them. So Alhamdulillah, we have now prepared some manufacturers for the API. Another very encouraging situation, I would say, that is the blessing of God. I will say that when we had this problem of COVID-19, so at the start, we just estimated the raw material position in Pakistan. And I'm very much satisfied, Alhamdulillah, that we have good sufficiency of raw material available in Pakistan. And I do hope that as the position is now coming towards some closer toward, the issue. So I think that we will be able just to provide, and not to break our supply chains. But definitely, if the period becomes lengthy, so yes, so that will be a big issue for the whole world. But definitely, we are encouraging our local manufacturer. We have started,
Yeah.
the basic manufacturing over there, and also on government side, we have talked with the China government, and as they are our very good friends, so they have just committed, and just assured us that there will be no problem from their side. So I do hope that there will be no breakage of, the manufacturing of sufficient, the pharmaceutical products in Pakistan for supply to the masses, inshallah.
Great. And from my experience as well working with pharmaceutical industry, I do see the potential that it can surge into one of the big industry for Pakistan to generate the revenue for the country. I would like to ask that how soon there will be a clear roadmap on promoting the exports from Pakistan? Is there a clear sort of a roadmap? Are there any guidelines available from Drap?
Yes, guidelines are available, but definitely I will say a lot of work has been done in this regard. But you can see there is some facilitation by the Drap. And this facilitation is, for example, you see the administrative facilitation or the facilitation, in the
Yeah,
guidelines, or facilitation, in terms of the what we call is the listing of the regulatory authority with the international agencies like PICS and WLA. So we are doing very actively. We are performing our part, I think so.
okay,
And the second part is basically upon the manufacturer that they produce sufficient, not only sufficient but quality products, and
great.
also to prepare themselves for the assessment of the stringent regulatory authorities. I think DRAPE is working very closely now with the manufacturers, and Alhamdulillah, I'm glad and I'm very much satisfied on that the people have now recognized their role, and they are working on that. A lot of manufacturers have applied to WHO. We do have certified some WHO, certified industries in Pakistan like Gates, like Formio, like CCL, and many, 2 to 3 dozens manufacturers are in the process of
Great.
enlisting with them. So along with this, we do have the process of PSA's membership. So I can expect very good results in this area for the
Yeah.
promotion of export in the near future.
Good. Okay, so my last question is about that. Obviously, it looks like that with the until we have the vaccination available, we need to look into COVID safe workplaces. And as DRAP is always been at the forefront of developing guidelines, there have been some guidelines released by WHO. There have been some guidelines from the Pharmaceutical Industrial Federation. So I would like to ask you that has there been any localized guidelines adapted for the protection of the frontline workers?
Yeah, definitely it was considered that the WHO guidelines or the other guidelines which are emerging today are sufficient. We should consider them. There is no need to go for reinventing of the
Yeah,
wheel.
yeah,
So the same has been adopted over here. And I think in Pakistan the situation is very good, and we should hope for that, and we should pray for that. That there should be the ending of this issue, not only in Pakistan but throughout the world, which is
throughout the world,
really
yes.
affecting immediately.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, thank you very much, Dr. Khatak. And in the end, I will just like to summarize what you have said, that absolutely one of the key area and the roadmap for the development of this industry will be exploring the new markets, and DRAP will be playing a collaborative role to make sure that Pakistan industry enables to reach that potential. The other thing is obviously making sure that the practices are safe. There are the processes that are followed, and again, there is a technical facilitation available from DRAP, which is really good. I can see that there have been some measures taken from the emergency preparedness plan, and there have been government to government interactions, and you've been also quite communicative with the local industry as well to ensure that it keeps going and without halting any activity to serve the demand of the population in need at the moment. So excellent session, Dr. Khattak. Thank you very much
Well,
for joining us today. Um, I'm just going to be unmuting the participants so that if they have any questions, they can, ask. Hello, everyone. If you have any questions, we have 3 more minutes. You can ask question. I can't hear you. Okay. Ariba, I can't hear you as well. Can you write in the text, please? Okay, you can send me the questions later and I'll send it through to Dr. Saif to respond to your queries.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saif. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Stay safe. Thank you.
Allah,
Allah
Allah,
Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.